I know Supervisor Mosentin and Supervisor McCready asked to be excused, so we should have 27 here tonight. Okay, 27 present and 2 absent. Public notification.
Wendy Coleman, my executive assistant, has complied with Wisconsin open meeting requirements. Meeting agendas have been posted on electronic meeting notice boards located on the first and second floor of the Government Center and the first floor of the Justice Center. Hard copy of the meeting agenda has been posted in the county clerk's office, and she's verified the proper posting of the meeting. This is the Barron County Board of Supervisors scheduled for October 21st, and this agenda was posted on the 15th at 2:24 p.m.
Okay. Our pastor, Paul Poppy, had to excuse himself tonight. So Bun Hansen, or Supervisor Hansen, is taking over that spot for the invocation.
Dear Heavenly Father, however each of us understands you, thank you for the life of Jess Miller and his contributions to our county. Thank you, Lord, for the excellent harvesting weather for our farmers. Guide us as we debate and discuss our county budget. We try to do the most to meet the most needs as we can with the county checkbook. Thank you for our county employees and the services they provide. Thank you, Lord, for our lives, our opportunities, our expectations, our families and our friends, and the chance to serve our fellow citizens of Barron County. Help us to do it right. Amen.
I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, item number 4, a memorandum from James A. Jess Miller. Jeff would like to say something.
James Jess Miller, age 93, of Rice Lake, died on October 11th, 2024 in Rice Lake. Jess was born on April 30th, 1931 in Rice Lake to Walter and Alice Gavin Miller. Graduated from high school and was married to Nancy Whitney in 1955. Member of many things, served on the county board, KC member, Elks member, St. Joseph Catholic Church Board. He's a referee for 25 years, survived by his 3 sons, Jeff, Steve, and Mike. There will be a massive Christian burial at 11 a.m. on October 24th at St. Joseph Catholic Church in Rice Lake. Father Isaac Schick officiating. The visitation is this Wednesday night from 4 to 7 p.m. Jess served on the County Board of Supervisors beginning in October of 1994. He was appointed by Arnold Ellison to replace Robert Rowe Sr. He served until April of 2020. He was vice chair of the county board from 2002 to 2006 and chair from 2006 to 2018. Above all, Jess Miller was a gentleman.
Jess was a huge asset for this county, and I'd like to observe a moment of silence in his name. Thank you, everyone. Item number 5, special matters and announcements. Do you have something, Jeff?
Yes, Patty Anderson wanted me to share that the sheriff will be at Lana's Cafe on Halloween from 8 to 11 to take pictures, which he's good at, shake hands, and serve food. So make him work. He's always dressed up.
Sure, the paper will be there. Anything else, Jeff? Okay. Okay, I'd just like to say something relative to the public comment and our budget. You know, I know I don't think there's a person in here or in the county that's not in favor of our fair, our museum, and our libraries. And it's, I've heard a lot of comments from residents of the community, the library board, and Jeff's heard them from some of the other entities. But, you know, we've asked our Barron County departments to cut. and they have. And when it comes to the fair and museum, you know, they're able to garner donations, they're able to charge a fee to get in. We aren't asking to not cut their appropriation or donation. We're just asking for a year reprieve or a reduction due to the budget constraints that we're facing. And it isn't just Barron County. Actually, we're in pretty really good shape relative to a lot of counties in the state. So I guess I'm asking that people think about the cuts that we're requesting and possibly share the pain. This Barron County, I've never seen a county that works together and does things the right way. And I'm sure we can work out a fair resolution to this matter. So when it comes to, just so you're all aware, I know the supervisors are, but there will not be, Jeff will present the budget tonight, but there will be no decisions, no motions. That's relegated for 2 weeks from now at 6 o'clock on November 4th. There'll be a public hearing starting at 6 o'clock, and everybody will have a chance to speak at that. And then after that public hearing, the board will meet and discuss the budget and the cuts and other things that are involved there. So, suggested it may be a good idea to talk 2 weeks from now before they're going to make their decision. But I'm just throwing that out there. So that's all I've got to say. Because in public comment, the supervisors cannot speak to what you say at your public comment, and I'm not supposed to either. Once in a while I do, but I'm trying not to do it tonight. So anyway, item number 6, approve the agenda. Motion by Supervisor Gooslake, second by Supervisor Turcott. Is there any concerns with the agenda? Seeing none, let's vote. Passed by a majority, 27 yes with 2 absent. Number 7, approve the minutes of the September 16th, 2024 meeting. Motion by Supervisor Cook, second by Supervisor Thompson. Any concerns with the minutes? Seeing none, let's vote. Again, that passed by a majority of 27 yes and 2 absent. On public comment, Supervisor Gores would like to say something first.
Last Monday there, I was at attended the Board of Adjustment, and anyhow, I guess said something that, I don't know, maybe ruffled some feathers, but I didn't mean it to. But anyhow, I got a phone call and stuff like that about one of the event barns and stuff, and they were wondering if what I was meant by it, and I just want to say that if I said anything derogatory, I certainly didn't mean it, and what do you call them? So I'll apologize for that. But what do you call them? But I'm in total support of these event barns. I have attended every one of these places, and I found them to be very well run and very nice facilities and stuff. So anyhow, I see nothing but really good things about these event barns and stuff like that, the way they have been running and stuff like that. So anyhow, I just want to say that, again, if I did say anything that was meant to be, it was not meant to be derogatory or hurtful. And so, again, I just apologize in advance. So thank you.
Thanks, Jim. Okay, for public comment, I've got 10 of them. I'll announce your name, then I'd like you to come up to the podium. Hopefully they'll turn the mic on for you. And just state your name and address. And you have 3 minutes. And I would ask that if you're up after somebody has said something relative to the library or the fair or the museum, that you don't repeat what they said. If it's your turn and it's already been covered, just please say it's been covered, and then I'll go on to the next one. Thank you. Susan Christensen?
Good evening. My name is Susan Christensen. I currently reside at 460 Moon Lake Drive. I have just recently moved back to the area in July, and I'm currently living in Rice Lake. But before that, I have lived 20 plus years in Barron County, in the township of Dallas, in the city of Barron, and now in the city of Rice Lake. 5 years ago, I left to move to Minnesota. Please forgive me. I did try to become a Viking fan. It didn't work. I had to come back. But when the opportunity as the Barron Library Board library director came open in May, and I had already decided to return to the area, this was a chance to come back to a job that I loved for 6 years. And so in July, I came back and started as the new library director of the Barron Public Library. I come back to where my grandchildren go to school. My children all went to school at Barron. And what has the library meant to me here in Barron County? Well, as a teacher for 10 years with the Barron School District, I used the library to have books for my summer school program. I used books when I was getting my teaching degree. I used books when I was a public school librarian and would come home in the summers. School librarian and come home in the summers. And in the end, it let me come home to be with my children as a public librarian. And what does a public librarian do? We do a little bit of everything, and we wear a lot of hats. Back in 2013, when I started and I came back to Barron to be the public director, at that time we were funded at 70%. And I was so happy when I came back this summer and I saw that the library plan that we do every 5 years was continuing our progress of going up by 1% every year. So when I learned about a week ago that it was possibility that we would go back to the same level at 2013, I was confused. I really was. But in this last week, I've done a lot of research. I've learned a lot about mill rates and things like that. But it's not an easy thing to understand how libraries are funded. But I want to say I am very thankful that the county supports us and our work that we do in the community, and that we're ability that every book we check out to the 26,000 patrons in Barron County that live outside a city limit, we can serve them to the best of our ability. I welcome you to come to the Barron Public Library at any time. If you would like to have some explanation of how the library is funded, I would love to sit down with you. And if you see me on the street, say hi and just ask how the library is doing. Thank you for your time. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Susan. And I will point out in the supervisor packet, there was a letter that's signed by all 6 libraries in Barron County. I know Susan was instrumental in organizing that letter, so it does contain a lot of good information, so I would read it. And anybody in the public that's interested, you just have to go onto the Barron County website and look at the packet, and you'll be able to find that letter as well. Okay, second person is Jay Keppen.
Yes, I'm Jay Keppen. I'm president of the Barron County Area Literacy Council, and I didn't really know what Sue was going to say tonight, but I'm really in support of the library, and all of our council members are. Well, anyway, our organization started 38 years ago out of the Rice Lake Friends of the Library. And from that, 2 years later, through another grant, we were able to go county-wide. And so we have a great number of tutors. We give free reading help to adults, and we really love the libraries. They're a safe, open, public meeting place for us. This past Saturday, we had 5 tutors in the Barron Library, all tutoring individuals at the same time. I use it They will tell you every day except Friday. And so when we think about budget cuts, we think that sometimes budget cuts means less opportunity. And so most of our students that we deal with, adult students, are employed, sometimes find it difficult to schedule meeting times, and so we would hate to see reductions in hours or opportunities. And so we just want to say that Barron County Area Literacy Council does a good service, we think, and we hope that our opportunities are not cut. Thank you.
Thank you, Jay. Barb Carlo?
Hello, it's Barb and Carlo. I live at 399 24 3/4 Avenue in Cumberland, Wisconsin. I work here in Barron at Mayo Clinic as a physician, and am here just to make a quick comment in support of the library. The library has always been important to me. It helped me get through med school and all that kind of stuff with resources. Nowadays, the availability of Wi-Fi, maybe everybody in this room has Wi-Fi, but a good share, I would say at least 30%, 40% of my patients don't have Wi-Fi, and they need that to apply to jobs or look for different services and help themselves as well as their children get a hand up and to help to improve the next generation. I really hope that, I know every area has to have cutbacks and different things like that, but looking at maybe a stable funding, it is very crucial to, again, many patients of mine. They use it from therapies, studying after school, before school, or working on finding jobs. So thank you all for your time.
And thank you. And relative to the internet, you're exactly right. It's not a luxury anymore. It's a necessity, and Mosaic and as well as some other providers are working hard to have internet to all the rural spots of Barron. So thank you. Rachel Thomas?
Good evening. My name is Rachel Thomas, and I reside at 512 West Marshall Street in Rice Lake. I come to you this evening as a lifelong library user and also the library director of the Rice Lake Public Library. It is a joy and an honor to serve and help people in our community and our county. On a daily basis, we provide access to information, services, and programs that improve the quality of one's life. You've all had a hand in that. By choosing to increase that reimbursement rate by 1% every year is a very low, slow improvement and increase in your county budget, but it makes a huge impact to your libraries. It helps us better our services and what we do for our public. By reducing it down to 70%, unfortunately, the most vulnerable in our community will be the ones that are most impacted by this decrease, because we will have to change our services and what we're able to provide at the library. I would love to invite all of you to visit one of our libraries, see what we do nowadays. If you come during a really busy time, you'll get to see the wide variety of people in your community that we serve. Please consider the good that you can do for your community if you choose to stay with the current library service plan and increase the reimbursement by 1%. That 1%, by the way, the added cost to your county budget is only $7,881. You can see all of this information in the letter that we gave you. The reduction down to 70% sets us back several years, and that's not money that you can put towards anything else. This doesn't work like a checkbook where you reduce it and put it into another pocket. That just goes away, and it just limits the amount of services that your patrons get. So keep all of that in mind. This is a really, really small change to your budget by just improving it by 1%. The mill rate reduction is 0.02 if you go from a 1% or 78% down to 70%, a 0.02, 2 cents per $1,000 of property tax. An average property taxpayer is maybe going to save $6 a year if they have like a $300,000 property. Think about those things while you're making this decision. That added 1% isn't going to make that big of a difference to your county budget or the mill rate, but it will impact lives if you reduce our funding. Thank you.
Thank you, Rachel. Eric Thorson?
Good evening. My name is Eric Thorson. I live at 819 Lakeshore Drive in the city of Rice Lake. My comments and perspective this evening come from having served on the Rice Lake Public Library Board of Trustees from 2014 to 2023, excuse me, roughly the last 5 years of which as president. I would like to thank the Barron County Board of Supervisors for your vision in approving the Barron County Library Plan of Services and your support of the 6 county libraries and their service of the 26,881 individuals of Barron County who live outside of a municipality with a library. In the midst of facing difficult budget decisions in recent years, thank you as well for recognizing the importance of maintaining financially secure libraries. Rachel touched on some of the financial statistics. I'm not going to repeat that. As our community leaders work to create jobs and affordable housing to retain and attract people to our communities, I believe that thriving, vibrant public libraries are vital to that effort. Connecting people to their community in a safe place, promotion of literacy, recreational opportunities, and lifelong learning. Our libraries now offer a wide array of services besides checking out materials and other items, using the internet, getting help with technology, a place to hold meetings, study rooms, incredible youth programming, author visits, and much more. To continue to provide the level of service that the residents of Barron County have come to expect, I would urge you to approve the proposed 2025 budget reimbursement level of 78%, and if this is not possible, to at least maintain the current level of 77% for the coming year. Thank you all for your service, your consideration, and your time.
Thank you, Eric. Kevin Roski?
I am Kevin Roski. I reside at 688 13th Street in Hillsdale, Wisconsin. I'm a retired dairy farmer where the farm still operates today. But I'm here to talk to you tonight about as a fair manager of the Barron County Fair. In the next few meetings, you will be going to ask to cut $10,000 from our budget. Believe me, in my farming career, I know all about budget cuts and not enough money to go around. The only thing I want you to understand is some of the comments that were made at the executive board meeting were not correct. And before we are cut $10,000, I would like to clear a few things up. A comment was made that we don't have much of a payroll because we have all volunteers. Yes, we have a lot of volunteers, which we could not do without them. But to date, our payroll for this year is $45,000. This does not include the judges, the workers' expense of $11,000 accrued for the year. We spend another $25,000 a year to hire entertainment for our fair. And this does not include any payouts of our winners of any of our events in the grandstand. We also pay over $20,000 premiums to our exhibitors. Only $10,000 of that is paid by the state. Another comment about our fairgrounds, about all the building projects we have done the past 2 years. The new office, the new refreshment stand under the grandstand were built by a grant I wrote, and the fair received $181,000 for this. As far as the comment about the new gate by our grandstand, in the world we live in today, the board felt it was very important to be able to exit people quickly, and we were not going to do this through a 4-foot gate. This gate was also partly paid for through an advertising agreement with a local business. So if I remember right, the cost to the fair was only $2,500, a small price tag for safety of our visitors. After the 2024 Barron County Fair, everyone thought we had a best year ever. Quite frankly, I also had hopes, but when your garbage bill doubles along with the increased expenses, did not shake out like that. Ladies and gentlemen, we at the Barron County Fair have a budget this year of $401,000 to make all this happen. Your past investment was $50,000, is between 12 and 13% of our budget. A $10,000 cut is about 33 cents per visitor. How much sales tax does it take to cover that? I'm sure that the visitors and the businesses that come to the fair brings in way more dollars than that to our county. Again, I am not new to cuts and budgets, but I just wanted to clear up a few comments that were made during the executive board meeting.
Thank you, Kevin. You practiced that. You were right on 3 minutes. Russell Renzig.
Russell Rinzig, 2106 29.5 Avenue, town of Oak Grove. I come to you as president of the Barron County Fair Board and request that the $10,000 that was removed by the executive committee be put back in our budget. The fair has many portions or components. I think education, family, community, and tradition. And we're soon to have our 150th year here in Barron County. The fairgrounds is used for many things more than that 5-day fair. And that 5-day fair actually starts a couple days before that. But we also have a rodeo, we have a gem and rock show, we have a career day for all of the high school students in Barron County. We have kids and cows, and we have the donut dash where we help the sheriff out a little bit. And that also brings my daughter home every year because she likes to compete in the donut dash. And I think a few people here have as well. We also have weddings, reunions, and we have walkers and dog walkers and runners on the fairgrounds throughout the year. So many of the things that we do at the fair, we don't get a lot of compensation for, but they add a lot to people's lives. The truck show raised $60,000 for a family whose daughter is probably dying. This livestock sale, which goes on, which the fair takes not a cent from, in terms of it sold animals that went for kids for their future educations and so on, but it also raised about $25,000 for a girl that's waiting for a heart transplant. We have all these sorts of things as a part of our fair community and our fair world. And in addition, we bring in all kinds of people into Barron County, into Rice Lake in particular, but motels are full, restaurants are full, fuel stations are full during Fair Week in particular, and for several of our other events. So I would like you to look at all aspects and figure that I think that Barron County gets great value for the $50,000 which we have received in an appropriation from the Fair Board, from the County Board since 2006. It seems like $10,000 wouldn't be much, but actually we run a very tight budget. We think we do a very efficient job, but we do a lot of things, like I say, that we don't get directly paid for, but it's a part of our community service. And so for kids to stay off the street and have activities to do, and for educational benefits throughout, I think that the Barron County is getting a great deal with the Barron County Fair, and would hope that in a couple of weeks when you meet again that you will be able to justify maintaining our budget at $50,000 a year for the fair.
Thank you, Russ. Dwight Thurs.
Good evening. My name is Dwight Thurs. I reside at 102 Hovel Road in Rice Lake. I've been a director of the Barron County Fair Board for the past 12 years. I've been attending the fair for the last 61. The fair has been a family affair my entire life. My parents met at the Marathon County Fair 75 years ago. When we moved to Rice Lake 61 years ago, they both got involved right away. Both my parents served as directors of the Fair Board. My dad was one of the founding committee members of the Junior Livestock Show and Sale, which celebrated its 60th anniversary this past summer. My mother was the coordinator for the Fairs to the Fair for several years. I had the opportunity, along with my 3 siblings, to participate in the fair in a multitude of different projects, from showing cattle, sheep, and horses and hogs, to baking, and even my brother showing cats. Many of my lifelong friends and colleagues are people that I met through the fair. After moving away from the area for 25 years, we were able to come back to Barron County, and my children were able to enjoy the fair experience and show animals that they were able to do in their time. And then if everything goes well, my grandson will be able to start the show next year. This event allows for all the youth and people of Barron County to participate in hundreds of different projects, as well as a place for families to enjoy themselves each summer. I know that these wonderful family times I have enjoyed at the fair, there are hundreds of other families that have experienced the same thing. In my time with the Fair Board, I have been a member of the Budget Committee, and I know how stressful it can be putting together a budget and trying to abide by it. We're trying to give all the attendees of the fair, whether participants or just people coming to enjoy themselves, all the opportunities they can on a very tight budget. We count on state and county funding, as well as donations to make our fair a success each year. And I ask you to keep this in mind, and please consider the reduction in the county aid that we are allotted. We are the only event in the county that people are involved in from birth till the sunset of their life. Thank you for your time and consideration.
Thank you, Dwight. Karen Renzig?
Karen Rinzig, 2106 29.5 Avenue, Town of Oak Grove. I've seen the fair from many different perspectives, from parent to superintendent to exhibitor to county board representative to the fair board to fairest of the fair coordinator and to working in one of the local food stands. Tonight I'm going to read to you the end of a speech that my daughter gave out about the fair when she was in high school. It is Sunday night. Kind of cool for a change. What a hot week it has been. It's just after midnight now. The livestock barns, hours before bustle and hustle to get the animals ready to go home. Now they're dark. The animal stalls, the places where children found wonderment in the first touch of a calf or a lamb or some other critter, they're empty now. The lights are turned out, the silence returns, and yet the deafening noise of a week of fulfillment is still there. Listen in the darkness. You can hear the happy chatter of kids leading their calves, and you can hear the water fight at the wash rack among the older kids who should have known better. It's dark, but at the same time, the grounds are glowing with light. It's the light of a smile. Hey, way to go, that's great, you're the champion, or better luck next class or next year. Keep working. You'll be a winner. The remembered faces of young people light the grounds. Some are happy, some sad. They're determined and tired, caring and concerned. They're all intertwined with the same bond. You can see it in their faces. We put it on the line. We tried. We succeeded or failed, but you can't take any of it away from us. We did it. For 5 days, it has been a meeting place, a growing place, a giving place for new friends and old. It has been a place to win and lose, to be happy beyond words and sad to tears. To those who have shared many fairs, it is above all the knowledge that nothing ever really changes. A moment of winning is a fleeting thing and enjoyable, but a moment of losing is just as important and just as memorable. Who won that class will never find the record books, but who helped you out will never be forgotten. Who threw that last bucket of water at the water fight is a memory forever. But the price per pound is only dollars and cents, and those things will always change. The faces, the events, The moment of glory joined thousands of others in the same stalls, the same grounds through the years. The fairgrounds are silent, but they are only silent for those who have never participated. Because for those who do participate, those fairgrounds will always sing about the glory of youth, even on the coldest day of winter. Thank you.
Thank you, Karen. You and Kevin are tied. Okay, Linda Thompson.
Good evening. I'm Linda Thompson. I reside at 2468 18.5 Street, Oak Grove Township. I'm going to speak for the library, but I could also speak for the Fair Board because that was really eloquent, and I had similar feelings about the fair. You already have, I served as a district board member, IFLIS board member, and Rice Lake Library board member in the past. You already have the facts about library funding process and dollars. Your funding is essential to the public libraries in the county, and we're grateful for that continued and increased support through the past years. I just want to give a couple of points. I have seen and witnessed library boards and staff are very careful with their budgets and spending. It is public money, they know it, and they respect that, and they are very, very careful. That's been my experience. Libraries are for the entire community. They are safe spaces, they are welcoming for all with their collections and their programs. Cuts to budget will impact staffing, programs, hours of operation. I ask you to carefully consider your past, and hope you'll continue supporting the libraries as strongly as you can. Thanks for your time and service.
Thank you, Linda. Okay, that's all the public comment. Number 9, an update on the 2024 self-funded health insurance plan. Tim Deaton from the Horton Group, I believe, is here. Hey, Tim.
Good evening. My page here. Didn't know we were going with that one. Nope. All right, so the agenda here for the meeting is very similar to what we've gone through in the past. We're going to do reporting for 2024 year to date. We'll go through the 2024 admin renewal through Anthem, and then in the closed session, we'll get into the stop-loss marketing and some of the other agenda items. Fair enough? Here's our monthly renewal calculation. I know this is a pretty small document, my apologies, but it does fit on one page, and if I could print it off for you on a big placement paper, but you've seen this before. Basically in the corner here where Jody is zoomed in on is our plan parameters. You know, we're currently with medical administration through Anthem and PBA. Our prescription administration is through Carelon RX. Current reinsurance is through Voya. Our specific stop loss, I know we've talked about this for at least the last year and a half. We're at 50,000, and our contract is at 1218, meaning that we have a run-out component to our stop loss, meaning if anyone does hit that 50,000 in our calendar year, any of those claims that are late in the year that maybe don't get processed before the end of the calendar year but bleed into the following year will be reimbursed back to us. So that's called a run-out contract. If you can move over to the middle part there, Jody, thank you. Here are our fixed fees. This is going to be our administration, our PBM admin fee, and then our specific stop loss on a single family. Aggregate stop loss is at our umbrella policy that we have. We've got the transplant policy, and then we added that gene therapy for those very high cost gene therapy medications that are coming new to market. On this side, the far right would be employer funding rates. So these are the rates that we use and kind of for our budget rates for the given year for 2024. You can go down to the left. We'll go all the way to the left like we did before. If you could zoom in on the middle part there, Jody, kind of the fixed fees. So we've gone through this in the past. On the top here, we've got the fixed fees in the corner left. We've got our admin fee on a monthly basis, our stop loss, our gene therapy premiums, along with our transplant premiums. In the blue there, that will give you total fixed costs. So that is what I'd consider our floor. Those are the payments that we make each month for our fixed fees. If we go to the middle part, the variable, these are where our claims lie, and you're going to see the numbers obviously different in each category. These are variable. Whatever our payments are in each month, we will log them there. We will also log our reimbursements in red. That's our stop loss reimbursements. And then we also get pharmacy rebates from Carelon RX on a 6 month basis. So then we add the total variable plan cost, and then we add that to the fixed fees, which will give us total plan cost in that last blue column. If we scroll to the right there, Jody. Thank you. Much like a checking account, we will put in our monthly enrollment. So we have single, employee spouse, employee child and family each month. Total contracts, we'll then bump up those counts against the budget number, which will show us our monthly funding. Next to that would be our monthly loss rate. We would compare the claims to our funding, and anything above 100 is not favorable. Anything below 100 is favorable. You will see that a lot of those numbers are very, very large, and they're over that 100 amount. We do not include the reimbursements in that column, just because we like to show kind of what our utilization has been. But if you do account for those reimbursements, the year-to-date loss ratio is 86.3, which is quite favorable. But we do receive quite a few reimbursements. Year-to-date, we're at $2,094,000. We've got 146,000 outstanding. If we add that into our loss ratio, that brings it down to 83% from that 86.3, which is exactly what was shown back in July. So not much has changed from a funding perspective. We do have some issues on stop loss, which we'll get into in closed session. But from just pure budgeting, we are about, I would say, $750,000 ahead. And for this group, and I know for Jeff, when we have conversations, we're very conscious of being new to self-funding. We want to create that healthy fund balance, but also be good stewards of the plan and make sure that we're staying competitive. But that's, kind of what goes into our thought process. Any questions on the reporting? All right, well, let's move along to the next one, which would be the ASO medical administration renewal comparison. We've got the current PBA Anthem on the left, and then we've got the renewal on the right. A lot of numbers there. I think the only thing that's really changing, this is on, yeah, it's going to be, the only thing that's changing here is we got a 30-cent increase, on our Anthem TPA fee. So that goes from $40.58 to that $40.88. And then we also have an offset where we're getting kind of credit from Carelon RX on the pharmacy drug component of our plan. So that went up another 30 cents. So all in all, we're looking at about a 3.18% increase, or about $3,200 annually. So not a big increase. That's pretty standard what we're seeing in the third-party administrator market. Any questions on that? All right, well, I will be back later in the agenda. Yep, thank you.
Item number 10, approval of the Sterling Bank loan. I'd like to point out, we'll need 3/4 vote for approval of this. That'll be 22 of the supervisors are going in favor. And I would like to thank Jeff. He was able to negotiate a favorable rate for us at 5%. And thanks Sterling Bank for doing that for us. So,
I'm going to call on Mr. Weber if there's questions. He's here in the audience.
okay. Okay, it's a motion to approve this by Supervisor Guslick and seconded by Supervisor Cook. Does anybody have any questions on this loan? Jeff did a good job explaining it in his memo, and just for the public, we're borrowing $2.5 million, and that's really filling up, putting back $2 million into our fund balance that we took for our communications upgrade and our system change study for our Sallyport. That leaves an extra $500,000, and we'll be discussing that at the budget hearing on November 4th, because the property committee is asking the full board to approve $250,000 to redo the windows over at the Ag building, and then $250,000 for potential boilers at the campus. So, does anybody have any questions on that? Seeing none, let's vote. It passed with 3/4 of full membership, 27 yes and 2 absent. So thank you, everybody. Item number 11 is 2025 budget presentation. Jeff, it's your show.
Correct. I've asked Jody to begin the presentation by reviewing what's published in the paper.
Okay. Yeah, we're going to take a look at the budget publication. This is published each year, and it is set by state statute of what needs to be in here and the format. So we're going to go through this. This looks a little different than the normal budget document that you've seen before. Starting out with the general fund and contingency fund, looking at expenditures of $25,242,974. This is a 3.42% increase from the 2024 budget. Funding of this is levying $4,265,689. You can see from last year, this is down like about $2.2 million. We have other funding sources for this. And one of the big changes is in the intergovernmental. You can see here that that's up by roughly $1 million. And part of that is the, excuse me, the other funds have an increase in their indirect costs. And so they pay back the general fund, thereby decreasing the general fund levy. Another thing to show is that sales tax is up about $400,000. That is just budgeted. Also, sales tax applied from prior years. Now, this is any excess fund balance that, or I'm sorry, any excess sales tax that we receive in prior years is divided by 3, and then a third of that is applied each year to reduce the levy. So you can see from 2024 to 2025, that is going up, you know, roughly $400,000 there also. With what was just passed, fund balance applied would be using $2 million in unassigned fund balance. And then there's also one-time fund balance that will be used. Part of that is for the WPPA money that was set aside last year. We would be using $233,000 of unassigned health insurance fund balance from the health insurance fund. And then we have other just regular assigned fund balances of $1.85 million that would be applied also. With the budget publication, we also have to do estimates. And so you can see here the actual fund balances for the general fund for 2023 for committed, assigned, and non-spendable was about 12.4 million. I'm estimating that the 2024 projected, or I'm sorry, that was for 2023. 2024 projected is about 10.8 million. That is down about 1.5 million, and that is because we have budgeted about 1.5 million in STP projects that's sitting on the balance sheet in the general fund to be paid out before the year end. Unassigned fund balance is coming in. The estimates are coming in really, similar to the same time last year at about 10.6 million. So carrying these fund balances down, we're expecting estimated fund balance as of January 1st, 2025 to be about 41 million, and this is countywide. So we have special revenue funds of about 9.8 million. We have a little bit in debt service, capital projects. We hope at the end of the year to have about 856,000. Fund balances for the highway and self-funded health insurance is going to be about 7.1, and then estimate for the waste energy fund is going to be just under 1.7 million. We have budgeted countywide. We have a budget of 81,156,717 for revenues, balanced. The same thing for the expenditures, with a property tax levy countywide of 22,643,805. That would be a mill rate of 3.27. And the recycling special charges, it's staying consistent as the past few years of $32 per improved parcel. With this budget, also, it includes the addition of a part-time sorter in the recycling center, a full-time maintenance specialist in the waste to energy department, full-time court security officer for the courts, and a full-time assistant cook in the office on aging. Is there any questions?
Yeah, Jody, what makes up that 1.853 million fund balance? Where do those funds actually come from? What funds?
Which number?
It's 1.853 million.
Yep. Okay. That is the departmental carryovers. So there's the departments in the general fund, we have quite a few carryovers. A lot of it might be grant dollars that maybe the grants are carried over into the next year. Maybe you have a grant time from like July to June, something like that. We have a carryover for insurance dividends. There's carryovers at the sheriff's department with, let's say, the canteen. These are just normal carryovers that at the end of each year, we roll those over so those dollars can be used, just moving forward from year to year.
So, and the other fund balances like waste to energy, highway, is there a cap on those fund balances? So if they exceed that, it comes back to the general fund?
The only ones, DHHS has a $750,000 cap, child support has a $150,000 cap, and the ADRC is zeroed out at the end of each year. But otherwise, the rest of them would stay in their funds. And those that is what would cover, let's say, if revenues are delayed, things like that.
Okay.
Yep. Jody, would you slide up to the 233,000, please, in the self-funded health insurance? She's highlighted that now, and I believe mine won't work, but I want to point out to the board, you will see the opposite side of this amount when we get into the contingency fund and other places. So I want to explain that Tim is right. We do look at the cash balances, and he just said we're ahead by over 700,000 in cash. So the 466,000 approximately that the self-funded health insurance is going to increase, we're going to split that. We're going to use some fund balance, and then we'll pay for that as part of the regular budget. We're going to go on now to the summary tax allocation. What you've been presented is what's required under state statute 6590 to be published in the newspaper of record of where the government seat is located. Barron County not only publishes in the New Shield, but all the other libraries as well. So we go above and beyond the publication. This is what's required to be published. Everything else that you're going to see tonight is allowable, not necessary. This supports that publication. Yes, you might have to hunt and peck, but each one of these numbers comes from a different location.
Jeff, Supervisor Banks has a question. Is that for Jody or for Jeff? Okay, go ahead. Yep.
Jody, what's the total sales tax revenue for Barron County? It's
For this year?
Yes.
So far? I don't have that. Do you? I have it right here.
It was budgeted, what, $4,450,000, but I think they went over that. Or projected to us, I should say.
There you go.
In 2023, cash collections were $6,521,077 to date through 9 months or 10 months. We've collected $5,193,362. Well, year over year, we're down a little, but it's going to be 5 or over 6, I would think, if it holds. It's going to be close. About
so
that much.
would be approaching 7 million, right?
No, we're approaching 6.
6, and then every year we assume or feel that we're going to get, what, 400,000 more?
Approximately, but we budgeted 4.8 million, but the sales tax doesn't go away. Whatever we do not spend or allocate in 1 year, whatever we have for fund balance is smoothed out over the next 3 years, so our mill rate doesn't jump around. It's to smooth the mill rate out.
Maybe the public would like to know what sales generate all of that sales tax.
Never going to find that out. The
Well, no,
DOR
but
does
you
not
could
give that
probably
to you.
calculate it somehow.
Well,
I mean, it's probably going to be in the neighborhood of, in excess of $1 billion. Total sales in the county would generate 6 million. Just a point of view.
It's 118 million of taxable sales.
118 million?
Correct.
Okay.
Other questions? The summary tax allocation sheet begins at the top. Jody, jump in. We always start out with expenditures. What this spreadsheet in essence does for the people in the public and everywhere else is it summarizes what generates the property tax levy, which goes to the published budget. You'll see we begin with operating costs. These are operating costs that would be on the tax levy, followed by the debt service funds. I've said it, and I'll say it for the 4th time. The debt service amount that you see there tonight does not include the shredder, 1.5 million. We have not received that amortization schedule because we applied for that after September 1st. So they will send out the amortization schedule later, and it'll be prorated over a 9 or 10 year period. So that's, just be aware of that. We have the highway fund, we have it in the contingency fund, and we'll break that down. And we have our capital improvements fund. So that would be 40 million, a little over 40, almost 41 million that would be on the levy if it wasn't for offset by things that reduce the levy. So with that, we go to things that reduce the levy. You'll see we have county sales tax revenue. I'm going to get there. Just give me just a second. All right, you're going to see there that we have general revenues. These are revenues that come from the general fund to reduce the levy. The special revenue funds and other funds are separate, and they stay in their fund, which is why we have a fund balance policy, and why for some funds, those amounts over and above what they're levied for the property tax, that property tax is returned as fund balance. Excess sales tax revenue, that's a third, and a third. We use a third up over a 3-year period. We then have the jail assessment and out-of-county prisoner revenue, which 100,000 of that is used for the sheriff's operation. The balance is used to help with operations. You'll see the health insurance fund, which we've talked about. We'll see what was allocated for the payroll for the WPPA when we negotiated that 2-year contract. Then we have general fund balance applied. Now this will be an accurate number based on the 2.5 million that was approved to be borrowed. So the 18,959,963 offsets the 40,982,665, giving us a property tax levy of $22,022,702. Then you add to that the library levy. I'm going to answer this question. Thank you for the email. I will answer this question. Give me a second. You will see then that as added to the levy of the county, this would be to municipalities that do not have a state-recognized librarian. $585,148 is the reduction made to 70% made by the executive committee from 652,022. The next, the $35,955, that is what's termed Act 420 dollars. That is the money that is levied on municipalities in Barron County that do not have a state-recognized library. But that goes to counties, that goes to county libraries outside of Barron County. For example, to Ladysmith, Eau Claire, Chippewa Falls, Spooner, etc. We are only required, the county board is only required to pay 70% of that. That gives us a levy of $22,643,805. That's $104 and $104,132. It's a 0.46% increase in the levy. It gives us a fund balance of 31%. Net new construction was only 1.55%. We can raise the levy $309,197. So we are at the maximum of the levy limit cap. You'll see that the equalized valuation jumped by about 9% from $6.4 billion to $6.9 billion. Jerry Jones would not buy us out, by the way. He'd be out $4 billion, but we won't talk about that. Debt service, with the increase in the equalized valuation, the mill rate drops because it's an opposite effect. So our mill rate drops to 327. That's one of the lowest we've had in a long time. And our recycling surcharge stays at $32, bringing in about 19,367 improved parcels in Barron County, excluding the city of Rice Lake and the township of Rice Lake, with a budget for the recycling fund of $619,744. Jody, did I miss anything?
Nope.
All right, I've received a question. Let me answer that question. Rachel Thomas made a comment that the reduction or increase, and the opposite would be true of this question. It's a well-framed question. If we reduce the library, it does not add to the county coffers. That is a true statement. That's just a levy, that's an amount that's levied. It comes into the county, and we cut checks to the local libraries. Is that correct? Okay. It affects the taxpayer. It does not affect county operations. So can I just have a minute to explain Act 150 and Act 420? I think it's necessary. Do you want a quick primer, County Board, on Act 150? Very briefly, Act 150, which is the 585-148, that was put in place as a result of the municipalities going to the legislature. My recollection is the late 90s or early 2000s, and that leveled the field, because prior to that, if you lived in a municipality, you paid 100% of the cost of running your library. This was an act by the legislature to get those people that don't have a certified library to help fund municipal library systems. Act 420 came in 2004, I believe, and that was to say, hey, people from Barron County, say, drive to Amory and check out books. Well, is it fair for the people in Amory to fund that? The legislature said, no, it is not fair. That's why we have that levy, a separate levy. It does not, up or down, does not affect county operations. However, what needs to be stated is they have a much better, the libraries have a much better people in Madison because they're exempt from the levy limits. That's the issue. Our county operations have to stay under the levy limits. The libraries do not. So, Jody, do you want to say anything more? Continuing on. Yes.
I just got one quick question. Can you just explain, so everyone understands, why we borrowed $2.5 million to put 2 million back to help our budget?
We took 1.5 million out for the simulcast project upgrade. We took another 422,575 is the number that comes to mind to pay for the study to look at expanding the Sallyport. We did not receive any money from the 2023 Wisconsin Act 19. We applied for 750,000 to hopefully reduce the 1.5 million from the simulcast upgrade. The county, we discussed this with the executive committee, we were either going to have to go out and make an assessment to the municipalities for the simulcast system, or we were going to pay for it. So I'd like to read what Mike Judy provided to me. I think it's very salient to why we borrowed this money. You are correct, sir. This is a countywide initiative that benefits every fire department, ambulance agency, and police department. We chose not to place assessments against those agencies for simulcast because the upgrade benefits so many more organizations than just those three. For example, simulcast also benefits the DNR, State Patrol, Air Medical, First Responders, Highway Department, and every other organization that utilize our radio network as a backhaul. Instead of thinking that these agencies are getting by without having to spend money, please know that the majority of fire and ambulance agencies and some police departments are having to purchase all new radios because their current radios are too old and will not operate on the new simulcast system. For example, Dallas Ambulance just spent about $40,000 for new radios with better interoperability on the simulcast network. From my understanding, Dallas Fire and Prairie Farm Fire have also purchased radios with better interoperability as well, keeping in mind that those very small departments, so $40,000 is a substantial amount of money. I would go on and say the sheriff even clarified this, and he can talk to this if it's the will of the chair, but we're paying for the system. They're going out and buying their radios. We could have assessed them for this system, but it helps fire, EMS, and they're having to buy the radios. So the last upgrade that we had was 15 years ago. So it's a long-lived asset.
Jeff, more to the point about the 25% taking money out of the fund balance, getting us below the 31% or 33% down to the 25%. That's what I was.
Right. Well, that could have an effect on if we're going to, if the board borrow money for the secure Sallyport, because they look at fund balance as a measure of liquidity. I'd also refer to the letter from Sterling Bank, which I think outlines very well the financial strength of the county. I think Mr. Weber can speak to that. Fund balance is a measure of liquidity and a measure of financial stability over time, and that's what this is about. If you're going to go into the open market, they're going to look at that.
They had a letter in the packet. And
yes.
Thanks Sterling Bank for that analysis. So.
Other questions?
Supervisor Olson.
So Jeff and maybe Jody, can you clarify on the assessments related to the library? The out-of-county money is actually coming from out of the county. It's not being assessed, am I correct, not being assessed to Barron County taxpayers?
No, it is being assessed because an out-of-county library sends to the clerk by May an analysis and a per count charge if somebody comes to the library. So I always use this because the Amory Library is typically one of the largest ones we pay. We have a lot of people from the southwest part of the county go to the Amory Public Library. They know by their zip code where they live. So that's a tax to reimburse that library and others because somebody from Barron County has went out of Barron County to adjoining county to a public library, and that's how we pay for that.
And is that assessed to all county taxpayers or simply the ones in the area that were not, where that lived where the books were borrowed?
It's assessed across all the municipalities that do not have a state certified library.
Okay.
So it's across.
These 6 that are mentioned that have libraries are not affected by that?
Correct. They're not double taxed.
Okay. And the same thing with the other tax that is assessed not to these 6, but to the in-county. It's just to the townships and the villages that don't have a library. They're the ones that are being assessed that.
Correct. And if you go back to what Jody's got up, that's a good question because you'll see she also puts the county library valuation at $5 million. That's how we come up with the mill rate of 12 mills for that because it's two different equalized valuations to calculate two different mill rates.
Okay, we can talk more about this, but I think that those of us that live in communities that have a library are subsidizing everyone else if we reduce this. And by increasing it, we're reducing the subsidy that the city of Barron is paying for somebody that lives in the town of Dallas, example. I don't mean to pick on you, Carolyn, but am I correct?
That's correct.
Okay.
It's an equalization of aid payment. That's what it is. All right.
Keep going.
Okay, keep going. All right. Who?
Supervisor Banks?
So in the grand scheme of things, if we reduce the fare and what's the other one? The museum, 10,000 each, I mean, what's that going to do to the budget? Why would we do that?
It's a question for you.
You're saving $20,000 throughout the county. That's,
Well, yeah, but that's peanuts.
well, you'll have a vote.
That's unbelievable.
Jody, any comments? All right, we're going to continue on. We always like to show the changes from September to October. And, all right, I'll take this, then you do fund balance. Okay, so we always tag team this. We make sure we stay on our, all right, so what you'll see, the levy limits came out. There was a change of $148,984. This was a change in the personal property tax calculations. As you know, state legislature chose in their wisdom to eliminate the personal property tax. So that reduces the amount of tax we collect here at the county, $148,984. There was an increase in shared revenue. We increased the sales tax $100,000. We reduced the capital improvement funding by $33,000. We have an addition of a person that we know already will be taking health insurance, a family plan. And so that's $149,050. And then you see the decreases. We don't need to talk about them. The additional personnel requests approved by the executive committee. We increased the sales tax to reduce the, we've been holding open positions and reduction of the open vacancies, and we used a little bit more of fund balance. And then there was finally the decrease in the library appropriation by $66,874. All right, with that, we'll continue on. Jody, you can take fund balance.
Okay, so starting out as of 12/31/2023, we had fund balance of $10,014,648. And then earlier in 2024, we had resolutions for the communications upgrade, the 911 dispatch system upgrade, and then a Sallyport study. And so that dipped into our fund balance by a little over 1.9 million, leaving us at 31%. Normal practice is that we apply excess fund balance to the budget. And so to help balance that. And so that's where the 2.1 million that you just saw in the summary tax allocation comes in. So by doing that, we need to borrow the 2 million to get our fund balance back up to the 39%. And then we're using that 2.16. One thing with this, using this much fund balance to put towards the budget, the last few years, the capital improvement, capital outlay fund, that is never fully funded. We use fund balance and just some of those projects are, they might happen. They might, if equipment can last another year, they might, put that project down the road and such. And so, but the last couple of years, we've only budgeted, I think last year was like $500,000. The year before was only 895,000. And I think our requests this year are like 2.7 million. So we really needed to beef up our capital improvement fund. And so that's why the use of, $2 million to put towards this budget is to help give us, dollars and fund balance in that capital improvement fund to last for the next few years. And so with that, If the budget is passed as is, that's going to leave fund balance at about $7,961,000, which will, stay at the 31%. If you wouldn't have passed that $2 million tonight, and we still would have went ahead with the budget as is, we would be down to 23%. And that is below our fund balance policy. So that would have not been good. So, so this loan that we're doing through Sterling Bank, this is just setting us up to backfill those projects and set us up for a good 2025 budget. Any questions with that?
Nope.
Okay.
We'll continue on. You'll see the
So the Sally Port, the engineering cost or study, I don't know which is which here, is the same thing, is like 100 and how many thousand?
422,000.
How much?
422.
That's just for the study?
Could you help on this one? Tell them what's all in there.
That was what allocated, that was the bid amount to do the ground study, to get the, make sure there wasn't, we have to find some piping under the ground. All of that hasn't been spent yet. That was the estimation. We're already reducing that number a little bit. So all of that hasn't been spent yet, but that is the study to get the architectural firm here to do the ground study, the boring, sample boring, all of that is included in that 422.
So how much is this gonna cost?
3.1 million.
All right, thank you.
That's the correct number, correct, Jeff? That's the one we're using. That's what law enforcement recommended. And that's coming in the budget just a bit later.
That's going to be a discussion at the end of the night. You'll see the personnel requests. We break those down, where they come from, how they're paid for, whether it's levy or other funding. You'll see what that is included in the, what's included, that's already included in the recommended budget from the executive committee. Really don't have a lot of comments. We're going to keep moving on. All right, now we get into the contingency fund, and Jody, I'd like you to, or you want me to do it? All right, I'll just jump in. You jump in, please. We always put something away for contingency because something always happens. Pretty standard. We have payouts, retirements, and resignations. We budget for those because we have to. When somebody leaves and they have accrued vacation or sick leave, or they resign, they get their payout for their accrued vacation and sick leave. We have some qualifying plan changes. That is to allow somebody, say, to go from single to family. I can tell you that the 250 and 75 is pretty spot on. Jody and I have talked about that quite a little bit. You see, we budgeted $466,583. We split the 233,583. We put some in the budget, and we took some out of the fund balance of the self-funded health insurance. The last report that Jody gave me, there's just a little bit over $4 million of fund balance there, and you heard Tim talk about the 700,000. We looked at we recommending a 3.5% increase in wages. We put in the CPI and the inflation for the last year, and that's typically what we've done. We've looked at those two. We have a mini McGrath study and implementation at 10,000, and we reduced the open positions. In 2024, we held open positions for a minimum of 8 weeks to help fund the budget in 2024. We reduced that to 175,000 and increased sales tax. So with that, Jody, you have anything to add? All right, I would like to go on then. I'm going to move right on to what's on the agenda. In the agenda, it says item 11A, borrowings and capital improvements. If you read my update, 11A, I will answer that by telling you that's part of item number 10, which we've talked about, and the capital improvements we've explained. The ag building improvements, item 11B, included in the borrowing was the $500,000. When the property committee met on October 7th, there was a recommendation which passed that committee that said they're going to, and I've written up the budget adjustment for the November 4th meeting, $250,000 for new windows and window fascia at the ag building. It's $225,000 for the windows and $25,000 in contingency. These windows are original to the building in the 1980s, as reported by Steve Olson to the property committee. Item 11C UWEC BC HVAC capital improvements. At this point, the property committee has directed Steve to do more research and see if pack boilers or individual boilers at the buildings is practical, along with looking at talking to several vendors to see if there are ways to reduce the cost from the roughly 3 million down. But point is, there's no money in the budget for 2025 for this. They'll have to be a borrowing or a separate discussion. The Justice Center Sallyport is not in there. We don't have final numbers, and we can go on that. However, on the 17th, the Law Enforcement Committee did discuss this and made a recommendation, which I believe Chair Oakey's going to talk about potentially setting a meeting on November 12th to discuss that. 11E, 11F, and 11G, I think we've beat up enough. I think we've explained that. So with that, Mr. Chairman, I am done with presenting the budget publication.
Okay. Guess we'll go on with the agenda then. Item number 12, the zoning ordinance amendments. And since it didn't look like there was much or any controversy, and Jeff was recommending them, and the committee unanimously approved them, we were going to take all those 12A, 12B, and 12C together. So the motion would be to approve all three. And I have a motion from Supervisor Heller and seconded by Supervisor Langman. Is there anybody that wanted to separate anything out? Good, thank you. Any questions on any of these? If not, let's vote. That passed by 27 yes and 2 absent. Thank you. Item number 13, an ordinance amending section 17.08, 17.42, and 17.74 of the Barron County Land Use Ordinance. Motion by Supervisor Gulick, seconded by Supervisor Rogers. Anybody have any questions on that amendment? Seeing none, let's vote. In 27 yes and 2 absent. Thank you. That passed. Item number 14, resolution, Barron County Lake Monitoring and Protection Network AIS grant application. Motion by Supervisor Banks, seconded by Supervisor Heller. Are there any questions on that? And seeing none, let's vote. That passed 27 yes and 2 absent. Item number 15, the resolution, adoption of the Barron County Farmland Preservation Plan map amendment to the towns of Stanley, Dallas, Prairie Lake, Elmina, and Crystal Lake in 2024. Motion by Supervisor Moen, seconded by Supervisor Gulick. Any questions on that? Seeing none, let's vote. That passed 27 yes, 2 absent. Thank you. Item number 16, resolution supporting application of the 2025 grant funds from the Wisconsin Department of Revenue. That was the resolution that was handed out this evening for that $18,541 grant. Motion by Supervisor Cook, seconded by Supervisor Rogers. Any questions on that? No, it isn't. It said it's not. It said 2/3 in the thing, but it's not. It's a majority. Okay, let's vote. Again, passed. 27 yes and 2 absent. This one, item number 17, is 2/3, so we'll need 20 votes to have it approved. It's a resolution authorizing the 2024 Fund 221 fund balance transfer for the purchase of a UTV for the rec officer / recreation fund. They're trading in one and purchasing this, and I guess the details was in the amendment. Motion by Supervisor Hanson, seconded by Supervisor Bob Anderson. Any questions? Seeing none, oh, Supervisor Vaughn.
So do I understand right, it's saying that we already have this money set aside?
Yes, it's in a recreation fund within the sheriff's department, but they just want to be transparent with what's going on. No other further questions? Let's vote. (27 yes and 2 absent). Item number 18, approval of the bike and pedestrian plan. Motion by Supervisor Turcott, seconded by Supervisor Wenzel. You missed out, Patty. Any questions or concerns on that one? Seeing none, let's vote. That passed 27 yes and 2 absent. Okay, the next one, 2025 County Board meeting dates and times. Our clerk, Jess Hodak, did an excellent job coming up with a county board meeting time talking points. But I do want to point out the exec approved that unanimously, but what the exec did not have on it is on Monday, November 3rd at 9 a.m. That's the one that typically has been at 6 p.m. Jess had asked that with all the elections that she has to, this happens the night before the elections all the time. And I know Jeff helps out and a lot of people, and it just taxes our county clerk to the nth degree. She actually had a comment in there with emails with Jeff and I to change the one for this year, but we couldn't. We'd already published the budget, so that's why November 4th will still be at 6 p.m. But next year, if you approve this, it'll be at 9. So effectively, what you're doing is we're keeping the 5 meetings that we start at 9 o'clock the same. The November one would go from 6 p.m. to 9 a.m. And then the real change is the 6 meetings that we previously had at 7 p.m. will now start at 5 p.m. That will allow the staff to stay right here at work and not go home and come back. So, and she detailed in her, hopefully everybody read her talking points and memo on that. There's a motion by Supervisor Olson, seconded by Supervisor Moen to approve that. Does anybody have any questions? Seeing none, let's vote. That passed 27 yes, 2 absent. Thank you. Progress and financial update on a Barron County Highway Facilities Project. That's going along very well. I was just at the latest highway meeting, and Jody, our finance director, along with our highway commissioner, Mike Haves, are finalizing some of the contracts. I can still say, Supervisor Cook, that we're in good shape, and I did ask how we are.
Under the wire is in good shape.
Well, yeah. I did ask him about our, what do you call that? DDC controls, and Steve Olson's still working on that, along with Lance. And it's coming, are we getting close on that, or? Don't know. Yeah, but do we have enough money in the budget to cover that? Does anybody have any questions? Thank you. Item number 21, the American Plan Act, ARPA funds. Jody had a nice list in there. Does anybody have any questions on that? Okay, seeing none. 22, report from our county administrator.
On item 22A, as you know, the vet clinic out here was scheduled for some very major updates. That's been postponed and probably will not happen until 2026. I just wanted this body to know, because this body, I believe, voted unanimously to recommend the state of Wisconsin that they get going on this. Well, haven't done anything this year, which is disappointing.
Well, on the WCA Zoom meeting they have every Monday morning at 11 o'clock, they were talking about the $4 billion that the state has. Surplus, yeah, and the Republicans want to use it for a tax cut. The Democrats want to use it for funding the UW system and K-12. So our WCA lobbyists are hoping that they will compromise and use some of this for the infrastructure. And this could be one of them that would be part of it. Supervisor Olson.
I thought that the legislature had approved or appropriated money in the budget last year or for this year to do this.
It's correct. It's being held up somewhere in the...
Somebody's holding it up. I don't know who it is.
I don't know who it is either. I've asked Representative Armstrong to hopefully get involved.
How can somebody?
I think it's important though, because the longer this holds off, there's some very smart people out there with and they're trying to attract more people to come here. They're good paying jobs. If we want that to expand, we want those people to come here and live because it's truly economic expansion.
Oh, Supervisor Hanson had a question.
The lack of turkey farms screwing that up, do you think?
No, because they're going to transition to pork.
Okay.
Supervisor Mullen.
Well, I had the same type of question that Munn asked, but if they're transitioning to pork, will pork be raised here?
I don't know that. I don't think that has anything to do with the vet clinic. The vet clinic will analyze what they bring in. Because I know they're transitioning.
And they're transporting turkeys and other things back and forth. I don't know. I'm not part of their management, so I don't know what's going on.
I don't know if the vet clinic will do anything with the pork because it has to be inspected before it leaves that plant.
Yeah.
I don't know what they would do at this plant, but before you transport anything, it's got to be inspected, especially if it's dead. They're bringing.
I know Senator Quinn and Representative Armstrong are on this. It's important to this county.
Item 22B, talked to Supervisor Schradel, Supervisor Oki about this. We were right in the middle of applying for the $1.5 million loan out at the waste energy plant, and the interest rates dropped. So in my naivety, I thought the state could just cross out 6% and write in 5.5. That's not possible. So it's very frustrating. So we took the 6% loan, and we'll see what happens in December. If interest rates drop again, we can refinance the acid gas removal system and this one at that time. So we'd had to start all over. That would have left them short of money by the end of the year. I talked to Jody and others. It would not have been wise for a number of reasons. Item 22C, when I attended the Wisconsin Counties Association, the first breakout seminar I attended was on circuit court costs across the state of Wisconsin, and we're going to show you 3 or 4 pages of this quickly.
You had that in the packet, didn't you?
I did not. Did I? I don't believe it's in the packet. So I guess I'll just leave it. Does anybody have questions? We're going to spend some time. Does anybody have questions on that? Roughly, the state only pays 12 cents on every dollar to run the state court system. Okay, digital advertising, I included that. I thought Dave did a great job of explaining that to his EDC committee. That's all I have. I have no appointments, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, claims, petitions, and correspondence, we have none there. Okay, let's see, number 25, suggestions for future agenda items. Well, that's our budget hearing. Where do we have the thing for, well, I guess we're just going to mention that November 12th.
I think you wanted to mention that. Supervisor Olson did too.
Yeah. We, the Sally Port has gotten higher than the estimates that we were initially given. So I would like to have a special county board meeting. The 12th is set aside if we can't just come to grips with it on November 4th. But, what? Okay, what time is it? Okay. Okay, so we'll get I guess what I'd like to do is have a special board meeting on the 12th. We'll have to determine the time for that. Jess has a conflict in the morning, so maybe earlier afternoon. But this is a big deal. I mean, we were talking about the Sally Port, obviously, the law enforcement and the exec and other people felt it was necessary. And, it wasn't put in when the Justice Center was built. But anyway, they feel it's necessary. So, but it's a big ask. We're talking about $3.1 million. So I think we need to have a special meeting and we're going to have Wold, who's the architect. We might even have Ellers here to discuss the overall borrowing so that all our board members are aware of what we're doing here. 'Cause it's,
So the original, and that 3.1, does that include the 422?
yes,
Does it?
I think it does. Yeah, it does.
Okay.
But it was 2.3.
Right, I understand.
Yeah.
We're $1 million up.
Well, 800,000, yeah. So we need to discuss this. And so unless anybody has any heartburn or doesn't want to have a meeting and discuss it, speak up now. Otherwise, we'll schedule that on the 12th and sometime in the early afternoon. Supervisor Banks, do you have a question?
So on the 4th, November 4th, we deal with approving the budget.
There'll be a 6 o'clock with a public hearing with the public, and then after that is over, we'll go into our regular meeting, which the main item will be the budget.
Okay, now will these items that we've discussed or had speakers, will they be separate issues
Yes,
and not issues already in the budget?
they're already in the budget. It's in that budget that Jeff explained here, but you have the ability to change those. You can make a motion. I don't want the fair to be cut.
Okay, just so I understand that.
Yep.
Okay.
Supervisor Gooselick.
So is there any reason we can't talk about the Sally Port on the 4th?
Time. I just think, we're going to have
One item on the 4th and we can't add a
There'll
second?
be more than just that one item, I think, won't it, Jeff?
I only have the budget at this time, but I don't know. I only have the budget at this time, but I don't know what's going to come along.
I mean, if the county's short of funds, maybe we should think about not having a separate meeting.
I like that idea.
Well, we can look at it then, if that's, I guess we had, when you present the budget, we go over all the detail.
Have to. It's a public hearing. You have to go through all the detail pretty much.
I look back at last November, and you all can do that too. You'll see what the agenda was last November. Things get added, and, I don't know how long the public hearing is going to take,
But we did tonight. We're into this for an hour and 38 minutes with public comment. That was a half an hour. I think we could give it a shot if we could. I don't know. If we can't do it on the 4th, we can determine then if we need a meeting on the 12th.
No, you need to make a decision because we've got to get Wold and Ellers here. And if your decision is that, well, I need to know tonight because I'll send them emails tomorrow.
Because we talked to Wold and Ellers in anticipation ahead of time of doing that. They were able to make it on the 12th. We're trying to, we have to get them here too because they need to be part of this. Supervisor Fall.
We have an election the next morning.
Yeah, I know.
I'm just saying.
Yeah, because you're right. Yeah. I should have sent the email that Jess sent about why we wanted to go next November to 9 o'clock instead of 6. So I think the election's enough of a reason to do it. So what we'll do is Jeff and I, and we'll get together and we'll pick a time for November 12th, and we'll have a special meeting to discuss this, because there's going to be I would think there's going to be a heck of a lot of discussion on this and presentation, because this, we're talking about 3.1 million, and we're talking about borrowing, rolling a lot of this other stuff in here, just like we did with the highway department. So it's not just an easy decision. No. Well, we're going to try to handle it like we did the ADR's kitchen and watch things very closely.
Out of town.
Supervisor Fall, you have another, you've got your comment in there. Any other questions? Okay, Carol, you want to do your thing? 26?
Sure. I make a motion. The County Board of Supervisors go into closed session pursuant to Section 19.851E for the purpose of deliberating or negotiating the purchase of public properties, investing funds, other specific business, or whenever competitive or bargaining reasons require a closed session. And Section 19.851F for the purchase of considering financial, medical, social, or personal histories or disciplinary data, or considering specific personnel problems or investigation of charge. It includes the county board, and who else? Jody
Jody and Rachel.
and Rachel. Okay.
And Tim. Yep. Okay, there's a motion to do that, Carolyn?
Second, yep, I need a second.
And a motion by Carolyn, Supervisor Bartlett, seconded by Supervisor Gooselich. Yeah, motion's carried. Okay, Jeff, the motion then we want to have is that we're going to go with this Anthem at $100,000 stop loss, go with the GTS 15, go with A-Wins, and then for the plan changes, we're going with the RX changes that yield a total savings of $48,900. And the medical changes, we're doing emergency room copy to $350 after deductible. Currently, it's $200 after deductible. Does somebody want to make that motion? Motion by Randy, seconded by Pete. Any further discussion? Not all those in favor of that motion indicate by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, say no. That motion's carried. Anything else that we need to do? At 9, well, by unanimous consent, we'll adjourn at 9:40. Thanks, everybody.